We got Min Min. I believe we had Min Min very recently. The Stellar Reincarnation column. Yeah, that's from Min Min. I have to look that up again. Wait, what? Hold on. 2838. 2838. 2838. Yes, it's a one section in the desert. I'm not sure if it was a desert, but it was in the middle of a field. That like if you die there, you become the stars. Like you sort of like your outline of your body gets sent up into the sky and glows like the stars. Yep. That's a fun one. So that was the last one we have from Min. I'm pretty sure that's the last one we have from Min Min. We have now the SCP called a persistence of memory. Okay, so like I said before, this is the one that apparently has like the long ass like 10,000 words tail to it. Let's just read. Let's just give it a read. We already reached the 3-hour mark, which is crazy. Let's just read this because this seems a little bit shorter. I mean, who knows how long this thing is, but yeah. Okay, once again, it's called a persistence of memory. Object class safe. Speculative procedures. The house containing SCP-2898 has been purchased and placed on the Foundation custody. The walls of the house must be inspected daily for new instances of -A. Motion sensors have been placed throughout the house to detect new manifestation of -B. Remains of -B instances are to be removed from the house and disposed of appropriately. And here we have instance 089 of -A and instance 179 of -B prior to recovery and disposal. God, what the hell is happening in this? Description: SCP-2898 comprises of a series of structural anomalies occurring in a 2-story bungalow located at Avenue in Georgetown, Penang. -A designates images of human bodies spontaneously appearing on the interior walls of the residence. So there's supposed to be a human body in this? I don't really see it. I guess like maybe here? Oh, it's supposed to be like a face. This is like supposed to be like the eyes, the nose, the mouth. Is that what it's supposed to be? Yeah. -A has a far appeal in all types of surface, including bare concrete, plaster, wood, thick coats of paint, and in several cases a rice paper screen in the master bedroom. Instances are initially vague and bear only a passing resemblance to a human face. Okay, so it is supposed to like look like a human face. Gotcha. An increase in clarity and contrast over the course of the next 5 to 6 days to form a clear image. Following which instances of -A will gradually resolve into a complete image of a human body within 3 weeks. The wall section containing a complete image of -A will eventually produce an animate humanoid entity designated as an instance of -B. All instances of -B appear to be constructed from common building materials, in particular materials similar to that of the wall surface they emerge from, and on occasion small amounts of human biological matter. A partial list of such entities has been appended below. So this is supposed to like so that's the face, and then that's the body coming out of this wall, basically. Damn. Okay. All instances of -A and B resemble POY 5775 Beatrice Cho, the former occupant of Avenue. Cho was an artist known for her work with POY 165, Restoration Collective, and frequently incorporated anomalous properties into her sculptures. She had been diagnosed with dementia in 1999 and was moved into a nursing home by her family 2 years later. While biological materials discovered in certain -B instances appear to have designated from POY 5775, she remains in good physical health. 57 identical symbols drawn in Krylon brand pink chalk are located throughout the interior of the building. Largely concentrated on the north and west facing walls. POY 5775 claims to be not responsible for creating SCP-2898, but contended in one interview that she could have easily forgotten doing so due to her condition. The possible link with SCP-474 is currently being investigated. In the 1, partial list of SCP-2898 manifestation. Okay, here we go. Number 10. Description: assumed to have emerged from a concrete wall in the basement. Instance appeared to have backed away from the wall and curled itself into a fetal position underneath a table, where it eventually sat. Instance was discovered upon original acquisition of the residence by the Foundation. I know that mechanic won't find this creepy, but I know for a fact if I ever went to my basement to try to get something, and suddenly there's a person in the basement that's not supposed to be there, just like sleeping, just like laying down there, I'd be like, I think I would absolutely shit myself, because I feel like one of the scariest thing in real life is the idea of somebody living in your house that you don't know. You know what I mean? Like somebody is in your house and you don't recognize. They're not supposed to be here. But yeah, I think that I think that would just terrify me. Number 43. Emerged from a wall in the master bedroom which had been heavily repainted in the past. Instances which consist of wet paint and approximately 45 kilograms of human hair, later confirmed as belonging to POY 5775. Immediately after manifestation, the instance began to frantically knead its face with both hands in an apparent attempt to reinforce its facial features. Instance solidified after 52 seconds, because it's paint. Number 105. Emerged from a tiled wall in the ground floor bathroom. Instance was made of ceramic with crudely articulated ball joints. Immediately following its manifestation, the instance mimed the act of using a hammer and chisel for approximately 5 minutes before ceasing all activity. Number 132. Emerged from a wall in the studio. Instance consisted of wet plaster. It repeatedly picked up sculpting tools and walked aimlessly around the room before setting completely after 4 minutes and crumpling to dust. Several strips of bleached cloth along with fragmented bones of apparently human origin were recovered from the studio floor following composition of instance. The bones were identified as belonging to POY 5775. Number 179. Emerged from the parquet paneling of a wall in the living room. Instance appeared to be made of wood and desiccated quickly in the span of 21 seconds. Throughout this time, Instance appeared to be in a state of extreme disorientation and panic. A lacquered sheen was observed to spread over the instance after it stopped moving. Addendum. Except from the handwritten notes collected in Avenue. Short additional material. And this one is yeah, okay. 7th, 5th, 1999. I suppose I would have complained that isn't fair. But I've seen enough to know that nothing lasts forever. Even stone is flabby, pliable, and mortal with the right set of tools. Follow up is on Tuesday. Hannah's fetching me, since she has forbidden me to drive. 12th, 5th, 1999. We consider moving out. But an old woman alone in a house is not an easy thing to move. Plus, I would need to move the studio. Extra space is hard to create in a place like that is in yours. 27th, 1999. I opened up the studio for the first time in a while. While it is comforting to know that I still have the touch, it's strange to see how many pieces I don't remember making. Note to self, tag with time and date. 13th, 9th, 1999. One does not really feel oneself go in a sense. I'm a series of comings and goings, leaving rooms only to enter them a minute later, forgetting what I forgot. Only the house remains a constant. Hannah says that there are too many rooms, that I'm making a mess of the place. But I like it the way it is. I come and go on, and the rooms stay the same. I think they make me. 30th, 12, 1999. Received a letter from an old friend in the States. I must have told them before, as they wish me well. I'm a strange man of their work back in the day. Imprintings, infusions, woodcuts of the mind, marks that draw themselves. I'm curious. 11.1 slash 1999 2000. I find myself in the studio that these days. There's something affirming about creation, even in making the slightest wonder or tweak. I made, therefore I was. I make, and I am. I make, and I am again, and again, and again. 19th, 30th, 19th, 3rd, 2000, yeah, goddamn. 19th, 3rd, 2000. I think every day is like a new day for me. I know for a fact that Hannah is coming down more often nowadays. I know this is because I find that I have not made shopping lists for the last 2 weeks or so. And if I have not made shopping lists, then I have not went to the market for some time. Or complain, but do not think I am in the position to anymore. 3rd, 5th, 2000. Coughing more. Hannah says that it's dust from the studio area. We compromised and she helped me move some of the things out into the living room. Where there's more light. I'm scared because I cannot find some of the things anymore. 6th, 2000. Hannah's worried for me. She says I called her last night and that I was very frightened, that I was inside my house and that I was all by myself. It's rubbish. I'm not scared of the house. The house is not scared of me. Probably is not scared of the mold it emerges from. 23rd, 7th. Oh, I just now also just said 6th. Okay. I'm finding more things in my house and not finding others. But if they are in my house, then I must have made them or lost them. The house tells me what this is true. 1st, 9th, I cannot find the studio. I think I lost the studio, but I do not think the house has lost me. So this, from what I heard, is a 3-part series of a tale which is 10,000 words long. Do I read 10,000 words, which is again would mean I will probably be like reading for a solid like hour and a half. Do I do that? Yeah, why not? Okay. Since I'm about to start reading that, let me just look at everything. Okay, I think we're good to start. I just gonna read what you said, mechanics, so that because we're gonna be busy for a long while. Imagine living in SCP-28998. That would be something. I know what that would do, and that is throw hands. It seems that SCP-289 does create friends. I wouldn't throw hands with I would not throw hands with a person that's made out of stone. That would only hurt your own hands. Alright. Let's get started. Here we go. Not to disappear. 1. In the dusty bedroom of her Georgetown apartment, Hannah Cho sits on the edge of her bed, mobile phone in hand, unable to believe the voice from the other end of the line. Excuse me? I'm sorry, we've checked already. There doesn't seem to be a mistake. Wavers the receptionist. Ma'am, I don't mean to be rude, but are you sure you dialed the right center? He double checks the phone screen, checks again the number pinned to the fridge, checks again the handwritten note sandwich inside her planner. I know I have. What's going on? Ma'am, I'm checking our records now. Just give me a minute to clear things up. She waits impatiently, tapping her fingers against the edge of her bed frame. Over the phone there is the sound of tapping keys. And the voice speaks again. Huh. Okay. What is it? There's never been a Beatrice show. The guest books got your name, ma'am, but your mother never stayed here. As far as we know, the room you gave has been empty since last October. This can't be real. What's going on? Is this some sort of joke? Believe me, Miss Joe, we are as puzzled as you are. Maybe we could. She ends the call, not want to hear anymore. Part of her, a rational, sensible, tired part, wants her to drive to the nursing home as soon as she can. In a nightgown and slippers if need be. But another part of her, growing more reasonable by the minute, makes her gently place the keys in her hand back into her purse. The growing knowledge, conviction even that mother has inexplicably and entirely disappeared. She notices because she woke up in the morning, rubbed her eyes, pulled back her curtains, and began to go to the shower when she noticed a curious change in the framed picture of her bedside table. It had always been there, a framed shot of her family on holiday, but there was a memento years ago when she bought the apartment for herself. It was one of her first things Hannah had seen in the morning every day when she awoke. Which is why she immediately noticed that the marked lack of her mother in the frame. In her place, a patch of blank sky. Ooh. It wasn't just the one framed photograph. A quick thumping through her phone photos told Hannah as much. It wasn't just her image, either. Curiously, even her name has been expunged, replaced by a little more than blank space. And presently, a quick call to the home confirms her suspicion that even the memory of her mother has ceased to exist. Overnight, Mother appears to have erased herself, purged from both the printed form and the mind. Several calls later, Hannah rubs the temples, takes up her phone, and dials a file number. It rings twice before it is picked up. Hannah? Pa, there's been a problem. Of course there is, you'd never call otherwise. It's about Mother. There's a pause as the two voices regard each other, the silence bounces between them, as radio waves of cell towers. Your mother? Voice uncertain, the receptionist was like this too, but steadier. My mother, your wife. A rustling sound she imagines his weight shifting, resting his chin on his hand, perhaps with the cordless telephone in his other. After all this time you call, you ask about her. I'm sorry I never called earlier. It just didn't come up, not entirely the truth, but it will suffice. They had nothing to come to talk about regardless. Something's happened to her, Pa. This is serious. Your mother, huh? She's gone missing. All of her, not just her, but her traces too. She can almost hear him wrinkle his eyebrows on the other end of the line. That's an odd thing to say about your mother. You used to call her Beatrice. Don't you remember her? Anything at all? Are you sure you're okay, girl? You sound out of it, like you just woke up from a dream. That settles it then. You know, I just might have. Sorry to have bothered you, Pa. He's gone. Really, truly gone. And I'm the only one left from whom remembers. Hannah bites her lip and ends the call. By the way, I just want to give everybody a heads up. One little thing I do know, that this tale does not end. As in, like, there's 3 parts, but the last part is not the end of it, and it was never finished. So if you get into it really badly and then you find out it doesn't end with a conclusion, then don't blame me. I'm just here to read. Anna bites her lips and ends her call. Without knowing why, she takes out her journal again. It's a simple affair, read bound in Fox letter. And the 4-letter memos from, not Fox, the X is silent. 4-letter, the memos from clients and phone numbers and passwords, both written on and sandwiched between the pages. And notes for Mother. Groceries to buy, appointments to make, doctors and clinics, and little personal reminder too, like a negative space portrait of the person that once was. Afterthoughts, errands for a phantom. 6 months ago, Anna drove her mother to the nursing home for the very last time. Her mother's possessions were few: clothing, shoes, and a bag of toiletries sit in a duffel bag in the rear seat, and a small bag of clay. It would be unthinkable for her mother to leave without her art, even at her age, especially at her age, when the faculties were so few. When her faculties were so few, art might be all that she had left. The road were the road there was smooth and familiar. They'd driven down it many times before, of course, but this time she would return alone. Yet she felt nothing special, nothing different. Nothing, in fact, to indicate that this would be a finality of any sort. The Nissan rumbled down the road all the same. Mother had been silent, placidly regarding the building as they glided past. Jalan Kebun Bunga Kotai Temple. Was that a look of blank recognition on her face, or was it confusion? After all, while Mother had known of the move for weeks, months, and had spent each and every day explaining it to her impatient in a tone as she could muster. Did she know it now? Ridiculous question, she thought. Mother's forgetful, not stupid. But then what was this feeling? Well, in the base of her stomach. All morning, she couldn't quite gather words for it, but it's like she's driving a dog to the pound. She chastised herself. Such thoughts, even at your age. The old Nissan rattled as if in response. Where are we going? Asked Mother suddenly, as if jolted from her daze. Shopping, is it? No, Mother, we're... Why are my things in the back? Where are we going? Mother, we're going to the home. The one you said you liked. Is it nice rooms? Oh, that's nice. He fell silent. Then after a while, am I coming back? Anna bit her lip. You considered saying, no, not this time, or we discussed this already, or even, it's up to you, Mother. If you don't feel like it right now, I understand, we can head back. Instead, what she said was, don't worry, it's just for a few weeks, to see if you like it, okay? Mother didn't reply. This wasn't the first time Hannah had lied to her. In all likelihood, she would forget this, as she had done before. A white lie. A remedy to ease Mother's adult mind, if only until she forgot again. Objectively, she wasn't doing any wrong. But then why the feeling in her gut then? Like guilt with a hook through its chest. Illogical. She shouldn't be feeling that way. The move had been Mother's idea as much as her own. The pamphlets she read cautioned them against such a thing, that one should let the patient rest at home, in a familiar environment, surrounded by old sounds and old faces, to maintain the facade of the usual as far as possible. But Mother was never usual. She was always on the run, always on the edge. In her twilight years, she was bewildered by familiarity. The walls of her house terrified her. Perhaps she found herself confronted, surrounded by reminders of her past, a past that taunted her and jeered her in her aged, decrepit state. And so, Mother had called her that night for the 5th time that week, almost sobbing into the receiver. Hannah, I'm lost. I'm lost. In the morning, she found her absentmindedly rolling a ball of clay between her hands. As always, she didn't remember a thing. She listened as Hannah told her about the phone call, the panic in her eyes rising to match the exasperation in her daughter's voice. Her daughter finished, looked away almost ashamed of her anger. Then Mother spoke quietly. Hannah, dear? Yes? You don't want me to stay here. She could not discern the tone of her mother's voice. I never said anything like that. What gives you the idea that I want you to go? Mother continued toying with the clay. It's okay. I don't want to stay here anymore either. They discussed it over the next few weeks. Mother would call in a few moments of lucidity, and Hannah would go over solutions, compromise the pros and cons of the phone, giving an apologetic nod to her colleagues. At least they were understanding. Perhaps more so than herself. At one point, Amirul had approached her after work and offered her to take the next 2 weeks off. She grudgingly obliged. Mother could not tolerate having anyone inside her own house. Not out of pettiness or an obstinate sense of independence, no. But she was possessive. She bought the bungalow with the last big sale she made. A pottery collection at an auction in Kuala Lumpur. And it was hers alone to keep. But taking care of her or hiring a full-time nurse was right out of the question. So was asking Pa. He left them behind by then. He left them all behind by then. Had been for years nothing more than a close acquaintance and pleasantries at the end of a long car trip. I left the possibility of housing her in Hannah's downtown apartment, but it was far too small for Mother's liking, and the din of the city kept her awake, so... Thus, bit by bit, they touched on the subject of the nursing home. Was a possibility Hannah dreaded. Would Mother miss home? Would she be safe? Would Mother never But Mother never complained. Perhaps deep down she wanted to be away to surround herself not with her daughter and the familiar beige paint walls of the bungalow, but with anonymous uniforms and whitewashed halls and sterile smiles. Perhaps when that too became familiar she would ask to be brought back home. Hannah smiled at the light irony. A tap on the shoulder. "Where are we going, dear?" asked Mother. It was easy for her to say it this time. To the home, Mother. It'll only be for a few weeks. If she says it often enough, it will cease to become a lie. Not just for Mother, but for the both of them. I mean, that would be a good thing. Her fingers gripped the steering wheel as she swerved into the driveway. Maybe a day will come when even I forget that Mother is sick. She thought to herself, then Mother's sickness will, like the self-consuming snake, undo itself, lose itself inside of its own folds of oblivion. Maybe that would be a good thing too. In the June of 1973, in a small cramped bedroom on the second floor of a small cramped shop house, Beatrice Shaw gave her daughter a piece of lined note paper with a handwritten telephone number. "For emergencies only," it read. "What kind of emergencies?" she asked. "You know when it happens," replied her mother. "Why, Mommy? When what happens?" "When I won't be around to help you anymore, dear. And as a child enters the woods for the first time, so that Hannah first learned of the possibility of death." They kept a note throughout the years. It would have been a frivolous childhood memento and nothing more than that. Especially when Hannah herself grew up and married and moved out of her mother's house. Her mother never forgot, and always kept the note, crossing out an old number and replacing it with a new one every few years. The yellowed, dog-eared note was one of the things Hannah had salvaged from the old house. Its surface crisscrossed with marks from half a dozen ballpoint pen. It was running out of space. The latest number had barely managed to fit near the bottom left corner, even in Mother's minuscule scrawl. In the 37 years that the note existed, he'd never once been told who the number belonged to. Nevertheless, unwilling to throw it away, she kept it on her fridge in a kind of anticipatory dread. Now, Hannah dries her eyes and taps out this number on her screen. Miles away in an otherwise quiet Penang public library, an old Nokia buzzes to life, nearly falling off the edge of the table before being caught by a pair of deft hands and pressed to hushed lips. "Who is this?" the voice in the line whispers. "Beatrice? It's been so long." She stumbles at the sudden familiarity, a hint of intimacy. Actually, I'm her daughter." "So you are?" "Then Beatrice told you to call me." She doesn't ask that question as much as she states it like a fact. Her voice smooth, clipped, yet ragged at the edges, as if spoken from well-wrinkled lips. "She did. May I ask who I'm speaking to?" The voice pauses for a second as if considered the question. Isa Norisan. He never told you my name, then?" "Mother left behind a note saying to call you if anything untoward happened," says Hannah, choosing her words carefully. "Something's bad happened to your mother, and you know nobody else who can help." "Well, then, no point in hiding it. Mother's disappeared completely. Pictures, every mention of her, memories, too. I don't think this is something the police usually work with." He is silenced and softly but harshly. "I cannot talk here. I'm in a library." There's a sound of shuffling papers and closing books. Meanwhile, morning sunlight filters through the tinted window of Hannah's kitchen. A bird chirps, the refrigerator hums. Presently, Isa Norizan resumes. "You think I can help. You think just because something inexplicable has happened that an old friend of your mother can simply provide all the answers to a world you can't understand. Like a single question that anyone that knew her can answer." "That wasn't what I implied." if he had just followed in her footsteps. So you're saying it's my fault now? Is that what you're saying? She feels a growing defensiveness rising in her throat, bubbling behind her eyes again. Her aunt died when she retired, and she lost her mind. Beatrice was one of a kind, and she died 2 years ago, when she forgot for the first time. He just swallows, almost sounding like a dry sob. Sorry, I let myself go. Oh, that was a long time ago. Well, I'm sorry I wasn't more involved in my mother's life. And replies, her anger subsiding. You say what she made was lost a long time ago, but if there's any chance of finding her again, then... I never said I would not help. Oh. Coming from her phone, the background noise is almost palpable. Hannah perceives a sense of faintly animated suspension of all decision weight of memory turning like dust. Rogers turning like gears. At length, Ida cleared her throat. 3 p.m. Walk back, we. Be there. The line goes dead. When Hannah was 10, she picked up a clay figurine on the floor of her mother's studio and screamed when it twisted, bent the air around it, wriggled out of her fingers and disappeared. She went crying to her mother, who scooped her into her lap and gently nuzzled her cheek. Shh, it's nothing, Sayang. Only when she was brought to the Hyatt years later and saw a forest unfold from a cornucopia of gilded marble that she realized that the figurine was merely a maquette, a prelude, a mere folly from her mother's idle hands. She turned to her mother with terrified, bewildered eyes, who simply stood and smiled upon her masterpiece, tears streaming down her cheeks. That was not her world. Her world is the world of common sense, of reassuring concrete buildings and cool office air. But that was, as this is now, a world of unknowns. Mother's world of inexplicabilities and mysteries and impossibilities. A world where sculpture spoke in more ways than one, and art moved wonders, where an old woman leaves no trace but her name. Now, across the gulf of 29 years, she feels like the events of the ballroom are happening to her all over again. Inside the confines of her Nissan as she drives towards the destination. A sensation of broadening, of falling, no, of ascending, inevitably as a balloon does, towards a mystery greater than herself, and beyond that, perhaps other things, answers or even solace. Her thoughts fade away as the bakery pulls into view, tucked away under the overhang of a meager row of shop houses. It's a low-key affair, with a nondescript engraved signboard on the front and mosaic tile flooring that looks as if it hasn't been changed in decades. Pastel blue paint coats the walls, peeling in some places. The door is a metal grate. Hannah Cho has passed it by several times before and on the way to Mother's house, but has never given it much thought, much less entered it. Behind the counter is presumably Madame Kwok, a plump Chinese woman seated comfortably in a wooden armchair, seemingly more interested in the soap opera playing on a small wall-mounted television than her own customers. Hannah walks into the equally Spartan interior and seats herself down at the only table. Old, lacquered wood, carved straight from her childhood. I don't make them like this anymore. Already on the table are 2 ceramic plates with God, my back is itchy. With a slice of orange cake on each. Seated at the table is a cantankerous Malay woman, wearing a bright floral tudung around her hat, paradoxically makes her look all the more ancient in its gourishness. Her eyes, Hannah notes, are young eyes despite the rest of her looking as if she's over 60. They pierce into Hannah's own through a pair of horn-rimmed spectacles. Your mother used to love this place, observes Isa Norizan, pushing her plate so slightly towards Hannah. She missed so much when she went away to her studies. This place has been in business for 55 years. Did you know that? Mother's never brought it up, replies Hannah. No? Isa sighs. As expected. Coffee or tea? It's fine, thanks. How does this place stay in business anyway? I've never seen a crowd. Isa waves to the counter with her index finger, mouthing the words, "One, please." The plump Chinese woman managed to pull away from the soap opera on the Small wall-mounted TV and disappear into a back room. Isa turns, explaining, they only take reservations. You have to phone ahead a few days in advance. No walking customers here. Like us? Isa spears a mouthful of cake on a fork and consumes it. Oh no. She just owes me many favors. Hannah swears that she shows a grin, but only barely on the edges of her crinkled mouth. Anyway, continues Isa, that is not your business, or what I came here for. My mother, yes. Hannah thinks for a moment, chewing on a mouthful of cake. It's surprisingly good. She tastes orange and a heavy sweetness, the fragrance somehow more robust and cloying. If I may ask, what was mother like? Oh, that's a sad question to ask. What was your own mom like? She was your mother. Well, she never let on much about her side of the world. Hannah shrugs. All I saw were her sculptures and the visitors she had, and the occasional exhibitions she dragged me to. Mother never liked to talk about her past. Her voice, she realizes, pricks with an unintended reticence, one that Isa picks up on with the slightest raise of an eyebrow. Her past is behind me. You would not know of it. A movement from the counter. Madame Quark appears with a mug of steaming tea, placing it almost grudgingly on the table with an audible clang. Isa takes a few sips and gently places it back down on the table. Your misgivings aside, Beatrice did a great many things. Not all of them worth remembering. And I consider the rebuttal, decides that it's all the more self-damning, and instead nods to Isa to continue. We were just young 20-somethings. Some of us were fresh from the war. Others were born into the remains of it. The wake of independence drove us on, towards ideals, to make this country, in the manner we thought was right. He paused to take another sip, or to gather her thoughts. Many thought, your mother thought, in her own way, through her art. Even so, I do not agree with everything she did. Words wash over Hannah in a dumb tide. She remembers the figurine in her room, the stone forest, disorientation settles in her stomach. He looks into Hannah's eyes again, and those young old eyes stare at her from a million miles away. She manages to find her words. You're trying to ask me why I want my mother to be found. Do you? Questions Isa. There's a nary hint of accusation in her voice. It is an open question, patiently worded, and it takes Hannah by surprise. Hannah thinks and imagines her mother, black-dyed hair set in little plastic curlers, skeletal hands tirelessly chipping away at a small tangled knot of clay, switching between scalpel, needle, and God knows what else with a watchmaker calculated precision, ignoring the daughter tugging at her sleeve. That same mother at a fish market in a hotel ballroom, and lastly in the house again, gnarled with age, endlessly pacing back and forth through the wide open doors of a big house. It is like an interesting dilemma. Right now your mother's gone, so you want her back. But if you think, if she's back, then you have to worry about her conditions again. You have to think about like how she was, and how she like deteriorated. Do you want that back? Also, like your memory of your mother is already like a little bit tainted from doing things that you didn't care about, or doing things that you didn't understand, being ignored, and so on and so forth. Like, you kind of just like, do you want that back? But at the same time, it also feels wrong to just say no, because then like, but now I live in a world where nobody knows about my mom, except us two. Try as she might, the mother in her head remains as such. Her mother. Moving in her own circles, be it the bewildering ones, in her secret world of fantastic art, or in her later years, the circles she ran in her own head, inscrutable to her even herself. Yet, throughout it all, still mother nonetheless. Isa continues, I do not mourn her. The her I believed in has long been gone. To me, just that many times over before this day. What is your reason to find her? I know I should just have one. Just one. A concrete one, but honestly, I'm confused. And a little scared. And never liked that feeling, you know? That feeling when something happens and it's completely unfamiliar, beyond anything you know, and everyone keeps going on like it's the most normal thing in the world. Hannah presses her lips together, gathering the words on her tongue. So I'm scared. And confused. But I think it's precisely because I feel scared and confused that I feel I need to do this. To do what? Pray tell. To find what's been lost. She thinks... To find what's been lost, she thinks for a moment. To trace her. He looks up at the older woman. I'm right, aren't I? I've been putting this off for too long. I need to see this through for myself. Isa nods slowly. And you do too. That's why you called me here. Everything you said, despite everything, you want to find her too. From the look on Isa's face, she feels like she finally got the right answer. Alright, that's part 1. Let's go continue to part 2. And again, it's a 3-parter with sadly no end, which is a shame. Because right now I'm really invested. When was this? When is part? We'll see when part 3 was written. Maybe there's still a chance. Although it has been too far. Like from the looks of it, it has been 2021 when the last person was like, "Yeah, we still haven't got an update." Which means that I will say by the end of this, I will say something about it. But let's continue. You still there, mechanic? Part 2. They called it the bungalow back then. Single stories and semi-detached lined the streets then, and the additional floor of number 32 towered above its surroundings. Yep, still here. Awesome. But now, hemmed in on both sides by the new developments, the old house looks almost pitiful, shrinking away from the high concrete walls beside it. It sits in the middle of the plot, its windows shuttered, brooding, dreaming the dreams of old buildings and other abandoned things. The gate stands closed. It's exactly as Hannah remembers it. Plain, black barred, no frills, with the exception of a padlock and chain, securing from the outside. New, no rust. I haven't been here in months. What's going on? She gives the gate a loud rattle. Isa sighs. Move, he says, pushing the younger woman aside. He inspects the lock and chain, running over with her fingers and traces a pattern in the metal. A flower, a mandala, and something clicks. For a second, it's as if a pattern really does appear. Glimmering fingernails scratched in silver, white sparks shimmer, and Isa swears. Goddamn arthritis. Because again, this time the lock and chain fall to the ground. There's only a shiny smell of handrails. What the hell was that? Asks Hannah. The smell is alien to her, foreboding, and shadow memory surface triggered by the act, inexplicably in front of her eyes. No. Not her too. Just like mother. Basic backline working. Isa's wry smile curls like a tail of a cat, picking up her fear in her voice. Not for everyone, maybe not for you. Isa unlatches the gate and the two of them steps on the driveway. She composes herself. Did she teach you this? Her art was another end. Not that she would call herself like that. She wings her hands and cracks her knuckles. You seem uncomfortable. Hannah waves it off. It'll pass. It'll pass. They walk down the driveway. Okay, I need to do a little bit of stretching actually. Whew. Oh. Oh yeah. Alright. They walk down the driveway, which is drowned out in wash of coarse grass and weeds under the black and white mosaic-tilled patio. The cracks in the house where Hannah remembers, and quite a few more where she doesn't. The porch roof sags. Without mother, the house gives her a feeling that it didn't quite fit together like it used to. Corners out of place, walls falling together, and pushing up against each other at all the wrong places. Was it some last remaining charm, some arcane entwining of the heart and home, or was it just all an illusion? As her mind's eye still reeling from mother's absence begin to see the house fall. The front door is locked. They unlock it, this time with Hannah's key. The sudden ringing startles her. A burglar alarm. and looked up in confusion. She never installed one. Mother never let her. The sound knives into her ears. Isa stops, tilts her head as if listening for something. She raises her hands towards it and contorts her fingers, focusing intensely on something just beyond the reach of her vision. Then abruptly she puts her hand down. The ring stops, but the contraption continues flashing its angry red light. That's not helping, screams Hannah, hands over her ears. What has she done, this woman? You make a lot of fuss considering you've just broken into your own house. Isa trots down the hall, massaging her hand. And scowls and follows. What other choice has she? Stale air greets them in the hall. The place seems bigger now, like the space itself has expanded to replace the gaps. The late afternoon light filters through the half-closed windows. Oh, wait a minute, I didn't check something. Okay, I think that's basically it. Okay. The late afternoon light filters through the half-closed windows, casting ribbons of yellow glare across the floor and walls, filling it with an emptiness, a substantial kind of emptiness. Nothing creaks or moans, aside from the footsteps. The house is silent. There's also a camera on the wall. It's not even a good place for a camera. It faces the wall opposite it, fixating expectantly on a spot where the paint has slightly peeled. 4 brand new screws stud it neatly into the concrete. All Lisa offers is a shrug. Someone has been here. There's more of them further inside. We removed most of the furniture when Mother moved out, sold the more sentimental pieces, threw out the rest, and the cameras stand out all the more. The only objects left, blank lenses staring dumbly at exposed walls. One thing she realizes are slightly different too. Patches of discoloration or peeling on the walls, like the one near the front door. The dusky interior of the house. They look like silhouettes cast on the walls after a nuclear blast. Some are even human-sized. As she stoops to inspect one of them, she coughs. The floor is caked in a layer of fine cement dust. Amidst the quiet, the emptiness breeds a certain kind of nostalgia. The ledge by the front window where afternoon sun illuminated the sepia-toned pages of library books. Kitchen counter of sandwiches made and consumed at 6 in the morning every morning for years. The corridors from the kitchen to the back porch walls familiar under her touch. A path traced routinely in a charcoal black night by hands and bare feet and wide open eyes. Memories set in the geometry engraved in the masonry, extending perhaps to the foundation, but foundation shift and sink in the monsoon-drenched soil, and shadows appear, and cameras crop up in empty houses. Elsewhere, the geometry is more subtle. Clusters of black and on the monochrome mosaic tiled floor, coalescing in patterns that only her eyes recognize. Brown stains where table legs once stood. Bit by bit, the memory of the place flows back into her, and when she closes her eyes for a moment, the image of the house surrounded her like a cocoon. In a way, it was a cocoon. She spent most of her years growing up here. The years that really mattered. The years of schools and books and teenage heartbreak, its dreams dreamt under this very roof. Maybe some still even survive, collecting softly in the reefs. Hannah clears her throat. Alright. What are we looking for? Isa paces across the hall, hands clasped behind her. I was very interested when you said your mother was gone. This kind of erasure can't be done alone. Needs contagion, needs sympathy. Part affects whole, like affects like. She turns and fixes Hannah with her gaze. Now you were raised by her. You should know. What about the sculpture is not part of the artist? How much of the sculpture in the sculpture? I don't know. I was never really... Of course you don't know, she sighs. Art has power. There's art and then there is art. Your mother was the latter. A past thoughts recollecting into the present. Her studio. Where was it? Anna rolls her eyes. Well, say so then. She tramps up the stairs with aching feet and reeling head. She cannot just say it. She has to be mysterious about it. That's the job of an elderly mentor. Especially an elderly strict mentor. They don't give you simple explanation. A loud peeling cracking noise from downstairs. Like plaster stripped off a wall. For a moment Hannah thinks to herself, absurdly fearfully, that the house is coming down. Then a sound of stone scraping against stone. Isa stops in her tracks. Up the stairs, footsteps, staggered, muted sounds, feet of clay. Wait. A grey, cracked hand grips the edge of the banister, pulling the rest of its body into view. It's almost human, or once was. Cracks run across its trunk. It lurches forward and catches on the last few steps before launching, grasping, legs spasming like a dead cockroach, kicking, still clawing. Hannah screams, runs towards the studio, fumbles for the door, shuts it, jiggles the handle. It doesn't lock. The voice inside her reminds her that she removed them herself for mother's safety. The thing continues undeterred and unaware, arms dragging the broken half of its body forward, kicking, thrashing towards them, mouth opening and shutting in a silent wail. Ooh. And don't forget they all look like her too. It's like a clay thing that looks like you, just going while chasing you. No, thank you. It nears its jaw, gape a melt concrete hardening and gurgling in its throat. Now twisting into a yawning chasm and cement mixture of maw, and Hannah's eyes widen in sudden recognition. She kicks it in the face. The effort unbalances her. She half backpedals, half trips onto the floor, stumbling. Still, the thing advances. Athletic fingers grasping her shoulders, and she finds herself being pulled backwards, impossibly through the wall. And then through, like passing through a velvet curtain. Outside, the thing was with her mother's face clawed and hardened and died. The new space is dark. The air feels musty, confined, giving the sense of a very small room. No breeze. And the heavy breathing from behind her is, thankfully, Isa's. Memory construct, she says, hardly out of breath. Mostly harmless. It tried to... It was coming for... You panicked and ran. At that thing. Never alive. It meant no harm. But its face, did you see its face? At that thing. Nothing more. Darkness parts, and now Hannah can see that they are in an unlit alcove. With a translucent partition separating. Okay, so but SCP-2898 looks like Hannah's show, if I recall correctly, right? Let me double check that. Oh no, they all look like Beatrice show. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, so this, yeah, makes sense. They all look like her mom. Which that, yeah, okay, that is even worse. Getting chased by some like creature that looks like your mother. He emerged to inspect the body. It was pallid gray of fresh cement, completely hardened, and its surface is as dry as dust. It stares at her through glossy, distorted features, like the damage from the agitation earlier. Eyes now golf ball sized gouges, nose all flattened mess with mouth and knife / idiot grin. She thinks to herself that perhaps the resemblance to her mother was only imagined, like the emptiness of the house. An illusion. There's no nostalgia here. The contorted form on the floor fills her with contempt, bordering on pity. But there's also a poignancy in its grotesqueness, like looking at broken dolls or mannequins or old yellow photographs, its inhabitants long dead. So close to life, yet so far. Should we do something about this? He asks, kneeling to get a closer look, despite her apprehension, despite the fear she knows she would have felt. Approaching the body in all its misshapen unnaturalness, there's a calm about her, one she did not previously knew she could have. It is new to her. You want to bury it? Asks Isa incredulously, and shrugs. I suppose, or something. He was never alive, repeats Isa. She stoops over the body and prouds it with the edge of her sandal. Well, it doesn't feel like... It feels right, just leaving it out here like this. Hannah rummages in her purse, fishes out some kind of cloth, and lays it over the deformed holes of the figure's eyes. A shallow gesture, but a gesture nonetheless. Isa raises an eyebrow. Spectacle cloth? It's the best I can do. You got anything better? He gets up. Behind him there was once a wall, a mirror now stands. Not really there, but all there shimmering in the white window paned evening light. Hannah now sees that the space behind is not an alcove, but the beginning of a corridor, long and unlit, stretching into the dark. Further on, there's another emptiness, the sensation of a larger space beyond. Never had one of these here before. Wait, we never had one of these here before. Hannah stares at the mirror in disbelief. Could be you refuse to see it. Ignoring Hannah's glare, Ida runs her hand along the mirror's rim and bows with it. With what exactly? Chinese? No, too freeform, too jumbled up. They glitter in response to the touch, bringing to mind memories long forgotten. Portally glaze. Glares of water in the July sun, its surface ripples and bends. The older woman steps through the mirror. Hannah follows, and together they pass through the darkened space. Reflections doubling and annihilating each other in their wake. Hannah traces her hands along the brick wall as she passes, and her fingers come away with dust. The light from her phone illuminates the way, showing blank walls until a passage opens, and no sooner do her feet cross the threshold when bright white light blazes down above her and burns into the new space beyond. A large hall, high ceiling, and square adorned with plinths and wooden tables. Above, the lights are set into wide, sloping rectangles that gives the illusion of open air skylights, of sunshine bursting through clear glass. She always did like brighter spaces. She dizzily imagines the space jutting out from the side of the old house, impossibly so. 5 meters above the ground, and reels momentarily, but the floor underneath her is solid with not even a little give or hollow feel behind the wood. Pottery, wheels, all manner of tools, old and new, and shards, clay, porcelain, ceramic, stone, shards, and shards of material. As if a whirlwind had laid waste to the gallery. In all actuality, this probably was a gallery at some point. A private secret one, bright and skylit, kept by one woman for one woman alone. Let's see if I can... There we go. This is where she put them, Hannah remembers, clearing endless piles of figures and lumps of fired clay. Arranging them in the living room, wondering if there was scarcely enough space in the hall to fit it all. And one by one, they disappear. Hidden away, her mother complained that she lost them again. They ended up here, it seems. That is, until whatever event had befallen this place and smashed them all into pieces. She goes along the pedestals, sweeping her hand in the dust. The fragments look as if destroyed with purpose, with vigor. He traces the trail of some ochre pieces, feet, or small hands. He decides fragmented across the room, the trail ending at a thick heap at the foot of a wall where it had been flung. Sky blue ceramic spread across a table like rock candy, crushed almost to dust. The faint imprint of her large hands. She shudders. Some pieces display hints of their former selves. A cloud of red shards whirl angrily in circles. Marble pieces extend futile tendrils that grasp at nothing but air. Piles of mildew grey dust pulsing to an unheard beat in complex nodal patterns. What do you think? Wait, what do you think? Ethan not so much asks as proposes the statement. Somebody came in here, destroyed all her work. Hannah scratches her head. Did someone have it out for her? She wasn't without enemies. Not the artists, the suits, clay and ceramic arena around her, threaded in the places like exotic clockwork. Some of them, it would not be too much to destroy everything she made. As an insult? As precaution. She steps over her crushed sculpture with some level of disdain. Never know what a woman can do. All of this garbage. Anna isn't listening. She's looking at a low, heavy bench set against the wall in the far corner of the hall. Something lies below it. Bulky and limp, and decidedly not made of clay. Debris surrounded in a circular heap. Hang on, is that... As you approach this closer, you can see that the thing is covered in something dark. Closer still, and she discerns that the dark substance is blood. Dead body, not a concrete one, real, battered beyond recognition. Crusted in black concealed blood. And on its forehead carved a sigil. Twin circles, interlocking, encompassing each other. Oh my god! Your mother's hand clasped over her mouth, far off the sound of sirens. Isa's face is grim. Anna, we have to go. Part 2. Okay, okay. I can see why people were really hooked into the story, and I'm sad that it has that there's no conclusion. Part 3 is the last one. And yeah. Oh my god, it was written in 2016. Oh boy, okay, I see. I'm enjoying this tale, the same here. Alright, part 3. I will say what I want to say about this tale once we've done reading it. Darkness falls over the island of Penang as the strange cars surround number 32 on both ends of the street. Dark sedans. Oh yeah, because the alarm went off. Yeah, true. With tinted windows pull up to a halt. In front of the house, a police car with the lights turned down. Behind, watching the exits, a nondescript white van. Emblazoned on its side is a logo with a name. Sun Ching Plumbing. 2 men in suits step out of the police car, low and quick, pistols drawn. But the 2 of them are already gone. Left, says Isa as streetlight shadows wash across her face. Right here. Go ahead. The Nissan rushes over uneven gravel, leaving the old house behind. It's back on the highway now, on his side, on the island on this side of the road. There's no one with them. Cars rush past, headlights blaring, but no sirens have followed, yet. It must be a good thing. Where are we going? Asks Hannah. Away from here, says Isa. Give me a break, those were cops, running away from cops. Not cops, no. Then who? Isa hesitates. Relevant authorities. What relevant authorities? What kind of trouble is this? They pull into a side road, branches scrape glass and the engine grinds to a stop. If you don't tell me, we're not going. The air quivers with a liminal tension. Isa stares ahead. Slowly she rolls up the sleeve of her blouse. Up the length of her forearm is a trail of a centipede, a jagged, crooked scar. It's nothing, she mutters. Just the relevant authorities. Anna turns down the engine and winds down the windows, letting the warm air sweep in. Softly she asks, was Mother a part of this? Did they take her, you mean? Anna nods. Maybe. But I do not think so. If they did, we would not have known. They are thorough. They make no mistakes and leave no trace. And not leaving any trace untraced at number 32. So I think it must be the foundation. Turning stones and scraping floors for prints. Technician unscrews a camera, checks the lights, scratches his head as at fried wires in the gauze tapes. Scraps of conversation hushed and low. Clean cut. Inside like well together. Couldn't shut off the transmitter, so there's that. Maybe a skip by a known way. Readings check out. Yes, might be her. Yeah. Surreptitious flashes of cameras around the concrete body on the floor. Dust is scrapped off and sealed in little bags. Another one holds out a device like a searchlight, peering at the digital readout. She follows the beeps as they lead her up the stairs in the room where a mirror is there and not there. Found one, she announces. Boss wanna see. Director Ron is an easy, light-stepping man who stoops his head to enter the room. He points at the body and is upward and nods, hurrying over with a trolley. Turning, he examines the impossible mirror surface with bemused eyes. Somebody give me a light. A short while later, past the brick-lined tunnel, he stands in the skylit room with its hidden gallery spinning around him on its axis. He gapes, smiles. For the first time in a long time, he laughs. The men and women in suits and blue fan out in the room. The subordinate delegates further orders. Hold. Watch your step. Don't touch what we don't have to. They nod and get to work. More cameras flash, more little bags are brought out. Bit by bit, the room is covered, documented, filed away in a dozen flashes in little bags. The men and women are professionals, and are nothing if not meticulous. As professionals are wont to be. It doesn't take long for them to find the other body. Ron purses his lips and whistles. Lean, get forensics. Tell them it's not pretty. What about the body? Asks Hannah. Occam's razor, conversation of detail, missing woman break-in, dead body. It's either her or the person who did it. Or an accomplice, or someone else entirely. Or you were right and your authorities took her. How are you so sure? In gut feeling? Really? Gut feeling? It didn't even look like her anyway. The size was all wrong. It's just, look, it just wasn't. Okay, I know that. He just smirks. Okay, but my guess isn't any better than yours. Oh wait, Issa smirks. Okay, but my guess isn't any better than yours. The symbol. No, actually, okay, I think no, it's definitely like she's saying, okay, but my guess isn't any better than yours. The symbol on her forehead. You remember that? The double rings interlocking. More about it. Of all the facts present, the twisted sigil carved into the bloody forehead of the corpse that Hannah finds the least disconcerting. That goes to show something, she supposes, but there was something about it. Something that might even be a detail lost, a missing part. Issa shakes her head. Not double rings. She races on the windshield, looping an S clockwise, then counterclockwise in two unbroken motion. Snakes. Two of them. At each other's tails. Oh yeah, the Ouroboros. Well, now the Ouroboros is a snake eating itself, right? Yeah, the Ouroboros is a snake eating itself. But it usually looks like this. But there's also like, yeah, there's also this version of Ouroboros where like... Let me see here. Yeah. Gotcha, okay. That's some kind of magic thing, right? No, but hey! I said it before. You know the word. One of Mother's works, maybe. One of them, I don't know. It was that simple. The Pangambalian restoration. A Malay spotty, but the name trickles into a crevice of memory, bringing to mind events, edges indistinct of what exactly? It's what they called a group back in the day. Beatrice never told you, I can tell. Hannah breathes sharply. Tell me about it, she says. No more secrets. Of course, all this was secret. Continues the subordinate. Around her are the shadowed faces of colleagues illuminated by the glare of the projector. It was a sensitive time. Flash on the screen. Sepia shots of jungle stormed by heli-born men. A crowd in a kampong, fists raised. A bombed out coffee shop. This, he says, is what the rest of Malaysia saw. Well, they're annoying me right now. The men and women peer at the projection. Ramon stands in the corner, leaning against the wall, deferring to the subordinate archival expertise. There isn't space for enough seats, as most of the briefing room has been occupied over the years with stacks of yellowed files and ancient papers shelved away in rusty lockers. In them are the records of days long past, with secrets, mysteries, and inexplicabilities, and many of them remain unfamiliar to the most of Ramon's colleagues. Their business runs through people like fuel, and the relatively benign posting of Site 111 has found a niche in recent years as a convenient staging area for new blood. As a side effect, budgets are tight and the room is warm and stuffy, buzzing with the uneasy whir of ventilation fan. Click. A series of designation code words, a colored timeline. What we saw what those before us fought was a different war. According to the archives, there were several groups of interest formed during this time period, many of which were hostile. 145, 159, 160, etc. There are few more if you want to look them up. My lips are so annoying right now. But our focus today is on this group in particular. Click. 4 women in various attire seated around potter wheel. 165. Euclid Stalin, consisting of 4 documented persons of interest. Whether they were aware of our classification system or whether they were just big fans of geometry is not a matter that's been documented in the records. Click. A sense of marketplace in Kedar. Its centerpiece is a sculpted... Oh, it's to die. Yeah. It's a centerpiece as a sculpted stone globe about the size of a small car. Frozen tendrils wreathed across each other around an unseen core. Around the object whirling lines of stone furrow, the ground spreading out in shape of a small galaxy. Fractal-like branches mimic the original schema spreading further still. Squinting, one catches the wreckage of stalls, carts, and questionably dark-colored detritus. The area has been condoned off, and men in full bodysuits are inspecting the wreck with bulkier-looking versions of the searchlight-shaped probe. Someone raises his hands. Previous slide, ma'am. Thanks. Yeah. If there were 4 of them, why is there a gap on the left? She recites the names clearly and deliberately with great concentration. Amira Turuddin, Ari Abelin, Makik Tan, and of course your mother, Beatrice. Hannah is still confused. You said there was a conflict, some kind of split. Okay, so this must be like either a future event that's being told, because now I'm a little bit confused. Because Hannah is like talking to Isa and to these people. Oh no, yeah, never mind. Because the moment it's italics, it's them, and then the moment it's not italics, it's Isa. Yeah, sorry. So it's Amira Tarudin, Ari Abelin, Makiktan, and of course your mother Beatrice. I'm still confused. You said there was a conflict, some kind of split? Something bad happened. Asa stops choosing her words. Things did not go to plan, and words were exchanged. People went their own ways. So grudges were born. If anyone had a reason to do something to her, it would have to be one of them. Who's saying this? Makit Dan died in 1994 in a home in Singapore. Liver failure. She used to drink a lot. She furrows her brows and taps her fingers on the sideboard. Amira never made it out. I remember someone saying the suits got her in 80-something. And she fought to fight back. And then what? Then she noticed the witness in Isa's eyes, trembling in her throat. Hey, are you okay? Isa turns to face her with an expression of lost serenity. The yellow passenger light floods her face in oblique relief, and the shadows carve out the cracks of her face. Slowly she speaks. What happened to me did not happen to her. In a brief instant, something clicks inside Hannah, and she forces herself to react. Hey, it's okay. Here. She reaches into the glove compartment, passes a tissue. What about Ari Abelin, the last name you mentioned? What about her? Her voice catches on something, but she manages to whisper, She's alive. Possible lead. Can we find her? Yes. Or is it really a good idea? Where is she? Where does she live? I don't know. Isa composes herself, wiping the last of the wetness of her cheeks. My place. We will think of something. The car turns out of the cul-de-sac and twilight gives way to night as the path loops back into the familiar direction known to the Penang highway system. And the two of them head back from the unseen road into charted reality. Do we know where they are? Asks the man in the group to no one in particular. Amma? What's surveillance say? Amma raises her hand. Yeah, I gotcha. We haven't heard anything of this group ever since we got the new system set up. If they show up anything digital, we known, but none of these gals ring a bell. The young man next to her pitches in with a voice like a harmonica. Half the island's covered in jungle. I keep saying we should stay up our measures, but no. The sub only speaks of. A number of them are dead or senile. This was confirmed during a routine sweep a few years back. Well, it's best we make sure we have a list of lost known locations and addresses of associates. I've prepared the files. Right, we know more or less what we're dealing with and with whom. Says Roman. Reason. Reason to the front of the room. We don't know what's going on with the house. If it's an isolated breach or if it is the beginning of something bigger. I'm not taking any chances. Just because 30 years have passed doesn't make these persons of interest any less dangerous. These are not baselines we're dealing with. Any questions? Yes. Yeah, Amma again, grin plastered on her face. When do we start? Hannah's been waiting outside with the engine running for the better part of 15 minutes. No lights are on in the dingy semi-detached. He supposes Lisa can see in the dark. It wouldn't be surprising anyhow. Her watch ticks on 85, 9, 50. Wait, 8, 59, 58, 8, 59, 59, 9 o'clock. Still no response. Lisa said the suits would be looking for them. Were they in the house already? If so, should we leave? Already she finds herself peeking at the rear view every few seconds, hoping the light at the rear is just another pair of headlights belonging to someone returning home, or that of an errand motorbike or late. Besides, leaving the engine running isn't doing any favors for the Nissan's engine. At least that's what she thinks the mechanic last said. The spring of the rusty gate, the key and what sounds like a full arsenal of latches snapping tight. The passenger door opens and Lisa places something small and dense on the dashboard. The car shaped and wrapped in colorful pattern cloth. It makes it sound like something hollow. Done, she says, easing herself into the seat. What's this? Lisa holds up the bundle to the light and mouths a phrase, which is more like a sound. Immediately, the bundle begins to vibrate and she lets it swing to and fro like the head of a snake, sensing the air, filling with purpose left and right. It orients itself when she places it back on the dashboard. A compass. What part of the art is not in the artist? How much of the artist is in the art she recites? Oh wait. What part of the art is not in the artist? How much of the artist in the art she recites? Sympathetic magic, Hannah. We will find her. No. Like a snake. It's not an actual snake. Anna turns off the light and brings the Nissan into gear. We must be careful when we meet her. Continues. Oh, we must be careful when we meet her. Continues Asa. Why? Personal reasons. 9:30. Ramon sticks his head in the armory. John, command just cleared us. He says, "We're mounted 5. Okay?" The agent nods and unclips the pistol from the rack. Tonight was going to be a hell of a night. The old artist takes the kettle off the fire for the night and wraps it with layers of colored cloth. It will be warm as you woke, likely warm enough for tea. Light comes from a lone bulb, while she has electricity tapped from a power line. Any more than that could start a fire, and she doesn't want that for her house. Her house is wood and filled with cloth. In the meager light, somebody's activating some fireworks outside. Her skin is fair as snow, and her eyes reflect a crystal clear blue. Though her hair is fading, one can tell that it used to be the color of bronze, a strong color, fiery and brazen. She is lost soul from another land, but lives here, nonetheless, in a tiny hut at the edge of the Penang jungle. There are villagers nearby who speak of old witches in the woods. Thankfully, live some distance away and do not bother her. She sits down by the light and examines her work. Through squinted eyes, dragons, butterflies weave through the scarlet cloth in her hands, threading through gaps of embroidered gold. Carefully, her hands pull another gleaming strand through imperfections unseen, making a ribbon of gold ever so slightly fuller, mending minuscule gilded scales. The thread is thin, almost imperceptible, and the work impeccably detailed. Has yet to be done. Had been a work in progress for over a year now, but out here in the backwoods, Ari Aberlin had nothing but time. Slowly, her hands weave fins, claws, eyes. Slowly, her hands weave fins, claws, eyes. The dragons run a river through the cloth, trailing behind a ragtag menagerie of silken creatures that leave embroidery in their wake. Behind them is chaos still. Incomplete threads crisscross each other, leaving holes and moth-eaten gaps. But together like a honeycomb, the gaps themselves form a kind of cadence in the imperfection, a fractal unraveling that resolves itself in reverse under the guiding needle of the artist. Ari Aberlin now does not create as much as she follows. Goes through the motions of prod, pull, thread, prod, for the gaps in the cloth are set in stone. Deviation would spell asymmetry, incompletion, chaos. And so patterns come to being and repeat themselves in the weave. In truth, the pattern is not so much to create it as it is simply coming into view. Emerging from the deep inside the cloth, where it has laid patiently ever since the first thread of Ari Aberlin's golden dragon reared its head. The thing we do leave traces, bullets for further successive acts and words that run themselves to a close. Ari Aberlin knows this as much as the next weaver. A noise from the front and another light. In a sudden distraction, her fingers shake, and the thread snaps, footsteps on dirt, sounds she hasn't heard for a long time, muffles speech. Cursing, she turns her head to the door and croaks, "Siapadia?" The answer is a name that fills her with dread. In an instant, she whispers wispy syllables far too fine to be audible to her human ear, but they are not too fine for other things to catch. A slithering about her, a rustling as blood-woven thread wakes to life. The door bursts open into a rainbow of fabric. The first bolt sends the first body flying into the bush. There's a scream and a thump as it lands, and the second body is the second woman, the woman who got away, the traitor, goes up and up and up as the second bolt constricts her against her struggling, ringing, contracting, and someone screaming curses in syllables that go nowhere, and... "For God's sake, Ari, I'm sorry!" Lisa Norisan squirms in the rapidly tightening swath of cloth as Ari tightens her fist and squeezes away the last of her breath. "You're sorry? Atakanda Boro, after all this time, and you come crying to me saying you're sorry? Did you say sorry to Amira, to Makik? But it's too late, isn't it? You come to me. Go to hell." She flicks her wizened wrist, and Lisa winces in anticipation of the final gesture, the execution. The bolts of cloth loosen and Lisa falls to the ground. She wheezes, regaining her breath. I never came to you before, or any of the others. I was scared of this happening. I'm sorry. It was a misunderstanding. That's what it was, huh? From the shallow doorway, Ari Aberlin wheels herself out. Towels over her legs slips, revealing her disfigured thighs, her calves embedded with crust with stone claws, gouging into each other inside her flesh. Isa's face grows pale. I did not... When you pulled your little joke, you didn't mean for this to happen. I had nothing to do with this. I never saw Beatrice again when I left. I was bitter. Angry, sure, but I promised myself I would never see any of you again. I will never cross paths with the Pengambalian. Lies. The bomb was saved more than thrice over. It was sabotage, and you know it. Her mouth twists with rage. You left us, betrayed us, and you dare come back to apologize about it? you plan to kill. Don't moralize with me, Isa. It was a demonstration set off under the cover of night to show the big players what we could do. What we were made of. Isa coughs, stacking to her feet. She approaches Ari slowly with her palms spread. I did not betray you. Please believe me. Oh, really? Ari rises, her left hand in a fist and a straight claw of bolts. Looms towards Isa, correlating and tightening and narrowing the point centimeters from her chest. Isa stops dead in her tracks. Give me one good reason why. She nods. From the pocket she slowly rises the cigar-shaped bundle, then rattles in the slip of her thumb into lengths of black thread, unspooling impossible into more and more strands, yet somehow remaining impeccably dense in her grasp. With a flick, the unspooling stops. The whole thing coils itself up tight as a rock in the blink of an eye. You kept this? Stammers Ari, the woven lance slackens along its length, releasing its cold energy with a sigh. How did you find it? Lisa drops to her knees and places the bundle into Ari's lap. Beatrice is gone. Someone might have killed her. We need to talk. And sadly, that's where the tale ends. And we haven't gotten any updates of an upcoming part. Yeah, Min Min wrote this tale in 2016, and people have like helped a little bit here and there, it seems, throughout the years, but we have not received an update to this for 9 years. But I will say right now, Min Min, if you've seen this video by any chance, I mean, at the end, maybe your motivation for writing this tale is non-existent, but if you do end up making a part 4, yeah, just hit me up on Discord, on Reddit, anywhere on his channel, and just tell me like, hey, I've actually written it, and I'll be glad to read it out loud, not on stream, but I will record myself reading it and upload it to my channel. I will gladly do that, because yeah, it's a good tale that you wrote here, and I can tell a lot of people want more. But I also, again, understand 9 years later that maybe your motivation for this story, you're a different person now. Maybe you don't want to write something that's connected to this anymore. Maybe you just want to write something different. I understand. But hopefully, maybe you will add a part 4. That would be awesome.